Hey folks, this is Mick Sweda, and you're listening to the Nothing Shocking podcast. Cheers.
Want to know what's going on in the world of music? Then tune in to the Nothing Shocking podcast, a non-genre based, all ages friendly rock and roll program. Join us weekly for interviews with all your favorite rock stars from the mainstream to the underground. You can find us at nothingshocking.libsyn.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
We're putting the band back together.
The numbers all go to 11.
I'm talking about bands that rock. Led Zeppelin. What about Sabbath? AC/DC. Motorhead.
Does that mean it's louder? Isn't it any louder?
Well, it's one louder, isn't it?
We're not worthy. We're not worthy.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I get up off the ground and raise my head. Days like this, think I should be dead. One for Satan, two for me. Let's cheat the devil, it's fun, don't you agree?
Welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'm your co-host, Jeff Untied, and with me in Dog Bowl Studio is
Coach Nez.
You can find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Libsyn or any podcatchers, like our Facebook page, or follow us on X at No Shock Pod.
You can also find the Nothing Shocking podcast on Rock Rage Radio every Sunday morning at 7 a.m. Central Time. Our sponsor is Ragged Records, located in downtown Rock Island, Illinois, and downtown Davenport, Iowa. We'd like to thank the Hong Kong Sleepover for allowing us to use their music for our intro and bumper ending. Tonight's guest is
Mick Sweda of the Rockett Mafia,
the Bullettboys,
the Hot Summers,
and King Cobra.
Yeah.
Also, he is promoting their upcoming live shows with the Rockett Mafia with Ricky Rockett.
Yep, and the Hot Summers had an album out there. Check it out.
Yep, and they are in the process of getting ready to record some new music. So let's get right to that interview.
All right, good night.
Good night. Mick, welcome to the Nothing Shocking podcast. I'd like to introduce you, my co-host, Jeff Untied.
Mick, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure, and I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. So let's get right into it. Currently you are playing with Ricky Rockett in a cover project of sorts. Can you talk a little bit more about this endeavor?
Yeah, it was really interesting how it came about. My friend Brian, who was playing with me in the Hot Summers, ran into Ricky, and Ricky was looking for some guys to flesh out this idea that he had for this band. And my friend recommended me for the guitar spot, and Ricky and I got together and hit it off pretty well and had a great time playing, and it's been progressing ever since. We've got some gigs in early July in the Midwest and around the Pennsylvania area, and we hope we'll have many more to come.
Oh, exciting. Well, besides yourself and Ricky, what other artists are contributing to this project?
Well, Brandon Gibbs, the singer, is I think he's pretty well known for touring a little bit with Joel Hoekstra. I think they have an acoustic thing that they do. I guess it sometimes goes electric. So he and Ricky have been friends for a long time, and he's a very talented cat, great guitar player. And at this point, we haven't totally fleshed out the bass part. We're going through some guys right now, and hopefully we'll, settle on someone on a permanent basis.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, Brandon's well known in our parts. He grew up about 2 hours south of us.
Yeah,
so?
2 hours south.
Yeah, very cool.
Oh yeah, okay. So you know exactly who he is.
Oh,
yeah.
Exactly. Saw him live many times.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
Yeah, great guy too.
With the cover band, is there is there a certain era you're trying to stick to, or is there pretty much wide open, or do you try to do obscure covers, or can you talk a little bit about the songs you picked?
Yeah, we definitely wanted to do the more obscure stuff, and we tried a couple of things out. Like there's a song called Baby Blue that I've always loved since I was a kid by Badfinger. And we love playing that song. However, you know, you have to sort of gauge how things go over. Not everybody is familiar with material like that. So even though we're trying things, for example, we put together a track called I Think I Love You, which was actually the first single I ever had as a kid by the Partridge Family. And it's kind of a challenging track to cover, at least from the outset. But, you know, I think we had a lot of fun with it, and it's out there for people to listen to now. But, you know, the song list is kind of evolving. We start out with What's in Our Hearts, you know, between Ricky and I, which is the 70s for that matter. So it's kind of branching out from there, and we're just making sure that the tunes are fun and energetic and entertaining.
Nice. As far as genre goes, are you guys pretty genre specific to the 70s classic rock era, or are you kind of wide open as far as experimenting with different genre of music?
It's the latter. In fact, one of the things that Ricky and I talked about doing was taking songs that you would never expect to hear and kind of revamping them in a way that has that allows us to interject our personalities into them. So although we haven't really got to the stage of finding too many songs to do that with, because it is a challenge. It's a lot easier to just pick up a song and play it as it's written. So for us to find something unique and exciting and turn it into our own, it takes a little bit more time, but that is ultimately the goal.
Very good.
Well, what can fans expect about the live shows and stuff? Can you talk a little bit about your approach, what you do on stage?
Well, my approach is as it ever was. I'm kind of a I don't know, fly by the seat of my pants kind of guy. So I don't really like to get everything that I'm planning on doing down. I like the spontaneity of just getting up and playing what comes to mind. I really have enjoyed doing that throughout my career. And this is a great place for me to exhibit that as well. So we're trying to keep it spontaneous and energetic. And so far, I think we've done a pretty good job. But we'll definitely continue to keep things with that spark.
Well, I was just thinking of one follow-on to that. So, you know, like with sports and stuff, sometimes I listen to sports podcasts and they'll talk about watching the game back or watching the footage and, you know, kind of critiquing, you know, hey, I could have done this better, I could have done that better. Do you ever, not necessarily record all your shows, but do you ever sit back and, you know, look at some of the stuff you've done and try to, you know, find areas to improve, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I don't normally do that. I have a hard time, especially within a short period, going back and listening to what I've just done. I don't normally find it as illuminating as I find it depressing, because everything to me is a mistake, and that's it's just like when someone says, well, what are some of the highlights in your career? Oh, you know, that time the cable became unplugged at the Palace, you know, the very first song. You always remember like the horrific events, right? So with the passage of time, that ultimately happens. But, I tend to just, after I've done a show, I kind of log everything in my head that I wanted to do better, and then I just go straight to the woodshed and try to improve it from there.
Very good. Well, you know, you touched upon this a little bit as far as, you know, taking a song and covering it and then making it your own. But you talk about the challenges of taking on, playing a song, maybe in a well-established song that everybody knows, and that you're trying to make it yours. And we've talked to many artists that have talked about, hey, it's hard to do without, you know, destroying the novelty of it. You know, I guess maybe the best example of that would be Radar Love, White Lion's, you know, cover of, you know, Golden Earrings, Radar Love. They kind of made that song their own. Talk a little bit more about the challenges of doing something like that.
Well, the thing that attracts you to a song in the first place is typically the groove and the feel and how the rhythm track affects you. So obviously the first thing you think about doing is changing all that, right? Like flipping it on its head and doing something completely different, which I can think of a few bands who have done that very successfully. But if you've gone through that and it doesn't work and you end up sort of back to the same tempo, maybe a very similar groove with some amendments here and there, that almost to me is like a disappointment. Like, I really want to just kind of flip the thing on its head and change it all up. And so ultimately what a lot of times what will happen is it will come down to the guitar parts, and whether I make things a little heavier, add a little bit more, take something else out. And it, for me, it kind of evolves that way. And then if that seems to have worked to a certain degree, the vocal usually can make a huge difference in creating, or probably maybe the most difference in making a song your own. So there are a number of ways you can go about it. I think with the song we did, I Think I Love You, we kind of kept the track similar to how it was performed back then. And then it evolved from there. I kind of amended the guitar parts and modernized them to the extent that I believed it was modernized. And then when Brandon sang over it, he took it to another level. So that's an example of maybe a song that worked in that way.
Very good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I guess talk a little bit about, the fans. You got two iconic, Bullettboys and Poison. Does that add any extra pressure to bring it when you guys do come out with the final product or come out with a show, or is it now we're just professionals and friends and it doesn't bother us?
Well, I'm not going to speak for Ricky. I know he takes a big part of the weight of the organization behind this band on himself. So I know he goes through stresses and pressures that I don't necessarily have to deal with. So for me, getting out and playing, it's the best part of it. I kind of I wouldn't say I get stressed or feel pressure, but I work hard towards making sure my parts are going to be as good as they can be, and so I spend a lot of time working on that. And by the time we get everything building up to the show, that's the most nerve-wracking part. Stepping on stage and actually playing the first notes, that's when all of that goes away. I don't think about anything else. I can forget all my troubles and cares, and I just get into playing. And that's how it's always been for me. I'm fortunate in that way because I don't really get what someone might call stage fright or nervous or anything like that. I love playing, and that's one of the things like that, and playing hockey. I don't think about anything else when I'm doing those two things.
Excellent.
Yeah, that's awesome.
You're also writing and recording new music for your original band, the Hot Summers. Can you talk a little bit more about the origins of the band, and I guess where are you at right now? What is the status of the band?
Well, the origins began with Jimmy DeAnda and I, the drummer from Bullettboys. We got together many years after we went our separate ways and decided to start writing together. And that ultimately ended up resulting in Shane Tassart coming into the picture. And we immediately bonded, Shane and I, between, our love for pop music and power pop and melody and all that. We really hit it off pretty well. We ran into a couple of roadblocks along the way. And Jimmy went in a different direction, and Shane and I kind of put our project on the shelf for quite a while, too long. And then when we finally got back together and started talking about finally getting it done, it was many years later, but it ended up sounding really good and feeling, very comfortable to us. So we finally finished a record, and it's out and available, and we ended up doing a couple of shows, not that many really. And, at that point, because neither one of us are really marketers, we're not really business people, so to speak. In fact, we might be the opposite of that. We're just creative entities, so we don't really have the ability to sort of get the train running down the tracks. And what we found out very quickly with that record is that nobody wants to help you push. They want to jump on when the train's going 60 miles an hour and just join the ride. Right. And, that's not a criticism. It's just the way business is now. So yeah, we, sold a bunch of records and ended up getting a lot of fans and did some videos here and there. But at this point, yeah, Shane and I are looking at writing some new material and getting out there and going at it a second time. But we're gonna be judicious about it and take our time and make sure everything's right, pretty much like we did with the first album.
Very good. Yeah, I didn't know a whole lot about Shane, but when I was, researching you and researching him, I did see he was from Pekin, Illinois, which is, again, not too far from us, about 2 hours south. So make a little triangle between Shane's hometown, Brandon, and us. And,
there you go.
There you go. We got a Midwest triangle there.
Yeah, my favorite part is what they used to call the Pekin high school team. Did you guys know what that was? I'm not going to say it right now, but look that up.
Yeah.
It's
pretty funny.
Yeah, they were called the Chinks. Yeah, we.
In this day and age, it's really funny. But back when I was a kid, that would have been really cool. Wow, what a great name.
Yeah.
Well, they amended. I think it was 1971 with the high school changed its name to the Dragons, and it's like a Oriental dragon. It's not as fun, but whatever. I guess with the album sales not being what they once were. What is your approach now to releasing new music as far as a tangible physical product goes? Is it something that you're going to do in the future, or will you do things like what many artists are doing now, where it's just all kind of streaming and downloads? Or I guess what is the future for the Hot Summers?
Well, I think it took us a little longer to evolve because we ended up pressing a bunch of CDs, and so I suppose I'm living in the past in that regard. But as far as the future goes, yeah, I think that makes a lot more sense. It doesn't. People don't necessarily even buy CDs. I might be one of the last guys out there that actually goes to Amazon and buys a full CD of a band that I like.
Yeah, we do too.
So yeah. I mean, I love us. I think we're kind of keeping everything alive, and I love giving my money to the artists themselves, if and when that's possible. So. That's kind of my thing, but I realize that it's not popular. I realize that, times are evolving and things are changing, and that's good too. So whether I end up jumping on that bandwagon or not, probably will.
Yeah. Have you checked out the media? I think it's called BandCamp. We talk to a lot of artists that use it, and I go on there to look at different bands and things that are out there. But you can, it's a really good medium for putting your music out there, and people, you can sell the stuff and digitally download, and it's a pretty neat thing.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that because that's where I go for a lot of my post-rock needs. I'm really falling into this thing of kind of cinematic, ambient, and instrumental music that is commonly referred to as post-rock. Maybe there's 6 more subgenres now, but that's where I go, and I feel great, like giving my money to those artists. It's very rewarding for me, and as I'm sure it might be for them.
Absolutely. Well, let's flip the page here and talk a little bit more about King Cobra. In 1984, you joined King Cobra and you recorded Ready to Strike and Thrill of a Lifetime. And then, in 2011, you rejoined the band for the 2011-2013 studio releases. Can you talk a little bit more about being a part of Carmine Appice's, I guess, would you consider the King Cobra a project, or was it a full-fledged studio band consistent throughout the years, I guess? It ended up evolving into more of a studio project, at least from my point of view. And I think I can safely say that, the other guys took that approach as well. Earlier on, of course, we felt like a band, a full-fledged rock and roll band. And we carried on that way for the first 2 albums. And then after that, as members started falling away, it ended up becoming more of a project, which is what led to me leaving in the first place. It just felt like there wasn't really any cohesion, and I think Carmine was on the verge of being desperate to get anyone's songs in there that would end up giving him a hit, which I totally understand and respect, but I wasn't feeling it at that time. So I split to start Bullettboys, and then
as you referenced, in 2011, Dave gave me a call, and evidently he and Carmine and John and Paul Shortino had been working some tracks up, and they felt like it'd be cool to have me come in and play on a few of them. So he sent me the tracks, and I did my thing on, I think, 4 of the songs on each of those 2 records. And it was a lot of fun. You know, I really respect Dave as a writer, and he always comes up with great tracks. And so that was a lot of fun for me.
Very cool. Very cool band project concept. Just kind of wish that I just kind of always felt like I was wanting more, and it never came. Yeah,
me too. I think even beginning with our first record, we all think, and I think a lot of people agree, that record deserved a better fate.
Yes.
Not that Capitol didn't do everything they could to get it going. Maybe they did, maybe they didn't. I don't know. But then by the time the second record came around, it was really obvious that something wasn't going our way. And again, I feel like that record deserved a better fate. It's actually something Shane and I, another thing that we coalesced on. He doesn't care for the first record, the first King Cobra, and he loves the second. So, and of course the second is where I actually came into my own, had a little more input on the album, or a lot more, I should say. So, yeah. And then, even down the line, I mean, I think it was a much better band than we ever got credit for, or, the success didn't necessarily mirror, the talent in the band, if I may be so bold.
Yeah, no,
fair
I agree.
enough. Yeah.
I guess the only thing I collect, or at least I used to, back in the 80s, 90s, collected a lot of soundtracks and stuff like that. So yeah, on that second album, featured on the Iron Eagle soundtrack. It a lot of times the record companies push those or do that, but can you talk a little about, did you have any involvement in that whole, putting that together with being on the soundtrack?
No, not really. It was one of the producers on that second record. I think Dwayne Hitchings, I think he wrote that song, and he was responsible for a lot of the kitschy keyboard work on the second record, which, as I've said before, was never meant to happen on that record. That record was actually supposed to be a badass rock and roll record, not something with a bunch of, dated 80s keyboard sounds on it. But that being what it was, I think he had this song written, and because he was involved with that record, it ended up finding its way onto the record. I didn't have anything to do with anything other than playing on it. In fact, none of the guys did, for that matter.
Yeah.
So it was kind of the thing where you're like, okay, it's kind of a kitschy song. It's kind of not really our thing, but if it helps us support this record and it helps promote our work, then I guess it's worth a shot, and when that all turns out not to be the case, it's almost kind of a double gut punch,
Very good. You co-wrote an original Christmas song, Merry Christmas, Little Baby. Talk a little bit more about writing a Christmas song, and I guess to phrase this the correct way, do you feel like you were out of your comfort zone writing a Christmas song? How did it all work for you?
Well, I really got along with Tilly very well. We played a few shows around town here in LA, and she's like a creative force. I really enjoyed my time with her, and I think we were kind of coming to an end as far as playing live. And she said, I know Rodney Bingenheimer will play this song, and I can get it on K-Rock. But we didn't have a song. She said, if I come up with a song, I know they'll play it. So she and I got together at my house one night, and I just started laying down some riffs. And of course, she had the melodies and the lyrical idea. And so it actually was a lot of fun to put that together. I had a great time, and I still enjoy listening to it. And it was just a fun project. Was it out of my comfort zone? No, I was in it because, all those ideas for the track were, basically originated from my heart and soul. So, it was a lot of fun. And I've always thought about it. It seems like every July or August, I think, okay, it's time to start working on my Christmas record now, or at least my Christmas song. And I never get around to it, but it's there every year.
Oh, very good. Fair enough. Yeah.
Well, we've talked about the Bullettboys a little bit, but can you talk a little bit about the formation and kind of getting that group together?
Yeah, well, it kind of formed out of the my leaving King Cobra. As I've said earlier, it seemed like Carmine was really desperate to find some sort of legs for the band at that time. So he was reaching out to Gene Simmons, and Gene gave us a couple of songs that he and Paul had written, and we ended up recording those and demoing those. And although it was fun and they're great songs and everything, even as we were doing it, I thought, okay, this is not where I want to be right now. I don't want to be playing other people's songs anymore. I don't want to be reliant on someone who's more successful to get us where we need to go. I'd like to do it on our own merits. So I approached Lonnie and Mark, who were both in that band with me, and I said, hey, man, and I've had Dave, too. In fact, I spoke with all three of them. And I said, look, I'm going to take off. If you guys want to go, do some writing or play or whatever, that would be great. But I don't want to be a part of this anymore. So they all thought, well, this is the biggest thing we ever been a part of, and we kind of want to see this through, and Carmine's got some things coming down the pike. I said, okay, great. Well, let me know. And I went and started auditioning players, and I probably wasn't even a month later when those guys, gave me a call and said, okay, let's do it. Let's get together and play and see what we have. And Dave was actually a part of the first few rehearsals, and then I don't think he felt like he was really going to be a big part of that, so he stepped away, and it remained for us to find the right drummer, which we ultimately did, and did some demos for Columbia, and they passed, and we shot those demos to Warner Brothers and other labels, and Ted Templeman said, hey, you guys want to make a record?
Yeah.
And we did.
Oh, so cool. I want to bring this to 2007. You released Mick Sweda and the Candy Bar Band's songs in the key of cool. It's an album that's geared towards kids and parents. Talk a little bit more about the writing and recording process for this endeavor.
Well, my wife and I had moved north, and we're kind of out of the LA loop at the time. So she and I got to spend a lot of time together talking about music and where I should be going. And we had our son was just, growing up at that point. He would have been 7. And so she had some great ideas for songs and lyrical content, and I had a bunch of tracks laying around. So we just kind of put our heads together, and as the project went on, it became more and more fun, and we were listening to a lot of kid channels on Sirius at the time, and we thought, wow, we might be able to find a place here in this. So so I just got to work in my studio and put some things together. Ended up using a song that I'd written back when I was a kid, and I can't even remember, 1978 or 7 or something, a long time ago. And so it was a lot of fun. We had a good time putting it out, and people seemed to enjoy it, and we still even have some CDs.
Oh, very good.
Nice. Another band I was looking up, Lies, Deceit, and Treachery. Can you talk a little bit about
Well, that, I'm probably not going to be real accurate with the timeline. I think after we kind of went our separate ways with the initial Hot Summers attempt, Jimmy and Lonnie, the bass player from Bullettboys, and Shane were kind of hanging out, and I think they were trying to seduce me into coming back to the fold, which I wasn't really very excited to do at the time. But they said, hey, just come, we're gonna play the second Cheap Trick record, and that'll be our thing, and we're gonna go out and we're just gonna be doing in color and black and white. And they knew that I love that album with all my heart, and it's one of my Desert Island records. So they got me. They got me, and we played that stuff for a little while. And the next thing I knew, we started playing Bullettboys songs. And the next thing I knew, people wanted to book us. And the next thing I knew, we were playing out as Lies, Deceit, and Treachery.
That's awesome.
That is awesome. Well, in 1993, it would be.
It was fun.
I guess it wouldn't behoove us if we didn't talk a little bit more about your solo career. In 1993, you started out as your solo career. Can you talk about that transition of being a solo artist, of being always in a band, and hey, now you're Mick Sweda, the solo artist. How did that work for you?
Well, the solo artist part works great. I was having a great time writing, but the solo management thing didn't work out so well because, as I said, I'm a creative guy. I don't know the first thing about even. I mean, it's funny how people sometimes think we're in this for the money and girls, and I obviously am not. I mean, I would love to say that I've always been very good with my money and made a ton of it, but the fact of the matter is I've got a lot more songs written and a lot more material than anything else. So that was the frustrating part for me because there was no shortage of creativity, there was no shortage of wanting to produce music, but ultimately I never ended up getting it where I wanted to. When I first left Bullettboys, I was kind of fed up with the hard rock thing anyway, and I wanted to go into more ambient, even acoustic direction. So that's kind of where I spent the first year or so after the band, and then I got the itch to rock and roll again one more time. So I started looking for guys to play, ended up finding Jeremy Spencer, who was with Five Finger Death Punch, and also Jason Hook, who was with that band also. So we worked together for, I don't know, a year and a half, 2 years, putting songs together and playing out here and there. And that was a lot of fun. Those guys were great to work with. After that, I hooked up with my friend John, who was in that band, and Troy Patrick Farrow, who you may have heard of. He's from the Midwest as well. And we ended up getting in the studio and writing a bunch of stuff as well. So, again, I've got material for days, just not that much to show for it.
Understandable.
Yeah, very cool. Let's talk a little bit about your studio, Red Cake Digital. Is that a home studio, or is it a dedicated space outside of your house, or how's that work?
No, it's actually a space within my house. So, but it's a big room with, that gets a great drum sound, and I've got, ISO booths here and there, and so it's, it's more than a home studio, I think, but. A lot of what was recorded on the Hot Summers record was recorded here, and I'm able to get some pretty good sounds, if I do say so myself.
All right, I have one last question for you, then we'll leave you alone for the evening. But, you're known as a guitar player extraordinaire. You're a songwriter. You also obviously do vocals with your solo stuff. For you, in this part of your career, what is the precedent? Is it the songwriting first? Is it the guitar playing first? Where does it fall in line? Vocally, are you the guitar player that also sings, that also songwrites? Or are you the songwriter that also plays guitar and then also sings? Where is it on the scale for you right now in this part of your career?
Well, at this point, I feel like I'm the producer who happens to play guitar and sings and throws in some keyboards. That's really how things have been for the last couple of years. Obviously, most of the Hot Summers record emanated from myself, in terms of the guitars and the bass and whatever keys were there and backgrounds and all that. So to me, that's really what it is. It's almost like those are peripheral skills that happen to, that come in handy, as opposed to the other way around. So, and it's something I'm very comfortable with. I always envisioned myself as a producer and have always sort of taken that role on, even if I didn't get credit for it. So, it's something I'm enjoying very much.
Oh, very good. Well, we're out of our allotted time for the evening. Is there anything that we left off tonight that you would like to plug or promote?
Not really. I think we touched on it all. Look for Rockett Mafia to come to a town near you, or even if it's not near you, come anyway. Yeah. And we'll have a great time. I think you'll really enjoy it.
Absolutely. Well, this is how things are going to work out. Jeff, the editing wizard over here, takes out all the boogers. Thank you so much. It was an honor having you on tonight.
Yeah, thanks for coming on.
Oh, it's an honor to be here. Thanks, guys.
Well, I'll be in touch with you. Jeff will have it all edited, and please share it wherever you possibly can.
Yeah, I will. Absolutely. Thanks, guys. And I appreciate it. And have a safe, nice weekend coming up.
Thank you so much. You as well. Take care.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
If they ever take from you, then you